Monday in America. Might be a tough Monday for a lot of people. Not only because it was the first NFL Sunday and second full college weekend. You might be a little hungover today, a little slow going. I totally understand that. Don't worry about it. You'll get there. But there's a lot of tough stuff in the news today, and we're going to cover at least one of them, which is, well, we'll have one big story, and the other one is a little bit more lighthearted. But the first story is probably the most horrific story you could ever talk about. But the thing is, you got to talk about him before you lighten things up to make some changes, right? And here's the change I want to talk about today, which seems like a foreign concept until you see something like this happen. And maybe this is the light that comes out of the darkness. We have to start holding elected officials, and specifically judges and prosecutors, accountable when the murderers that they let free, let go, let loose on the streets commit murders again and again and again. Again, sorry, I know that's not the lightest topic to talk about, but something's got to be done. So maybe that's the light at the end of this. Maybe that's how we turn things around. Start holding judges accountable. It's going to have to happen. And right now that sounds like a foreign concept. It won't be soon after this story. And the story I'm talking about is the Irina Zarotzka story, which I am sure you've seen the video so far. And there is no way on God's green earth I'm going to show that video to you again. And the background is on a Charlotte, North Carolina, relevant to the story. Not New York, not the south side of Chicago, not even Philly or Boston. Charlotte, North Carolina, an awesome city. On a light rail train. The video, security video from it got released now, which my guess is you're a follower of me and you're aware of things going on. You've seen this video already where this poor girl, who's Ukrainian, by the way, she's a refugee. More on that in a second. Was stabbed to death on the train by a lunatic sitting behind her, completely, totally random. And this is truly one of those cases where it could have been. You can't say this about every story, but you can about this one. This literally could have been you. This could have been me. It could have been your wife. It could have been your husband. It could have been your daughter. It could have been your son. It could have been your cousin. It could have been your neighbor, and anybody this could have happened to, simply because she sat down on a light rail train in front of a lunatic who had been released 14 times into the community. Violent offenses, by the way. It's got to change. And people who do this continually, for whatever reason, I have my theories and you do too, but they have to be held accountable. I'm talking about the judges. We'll talk about Irina because her name needs to be spoken. Not the scumbag killer. We're not going to talk about him, but we'll talk about her. And we're going to talk about, of course, this is the lighter side of things. Interesting enough, both of these stories, which have made headline news, not in the mainstream media, but headline news regardless, because now we are the media. The Phillies Karen, they're talking about her. A lot of confusion about the loose ball situation, trying to get a foul ball at baseball games. I'm going to try to clear this up a little bit. And you got to... should be a lesson to all of us on how to deal with a Phillies Karen as they're talking about it. Because, boy, you do something like that, and now you're going to be caught on camera. But first of all, welcome to Monday. I hope Monday's not too rough for you so far. Thanks for finding the Wicked Radio live stream. Becomes a podcast on replay on every single media channel you could possibly find, including the audio channels. And thanks for being here. I appreciate it. All right, let's get right to it. Like I said, there's no way I'm going to play that video. And there's not a lot of sound of the security camera. Now, it happened earlier, but now the security camera from the Charlotte, North Carolina light rail got released of 23-year-old Irina Zarotzka getting stabbed to death in the neck by a scumbag behind her. Again, I just say, if you're just joining us right now, I know it's a big story, but this is, you can't say about every case. This is literally a story that could have been any one of us or any one of our daughters or sons or anybody, because it's completely random. A total lunatic was sitting behind her with a knife, decided to stab her in the neck, and she's dead. It could have been anybody, and it has to stop. So here's the thing behind this, as horrifying as that is. First of all, a little bit more about her. Beautiful girl, 23 years old, an immigrant, by the way. Oh, isn't that interesting to the story? A Ukrainian immigrant. Ukrainian girl looking for a better life in here. Landed in Charlotte, North Carolina. Thought she'd take the light rail in a beautiful, awesome city like Charlotte, and nothing would be fine. Probably took it dozens of times before that, right? If this isn't proof positive that violence is everywhere, it can happen to anybody, I don't know what is. And yet you'll still have those people in your life, or certainly in the mainstream media, who will tell you that it's so overhyped and Trump's America. It is not. They're trying to tell you that violence is everywhere. Okay, that argument is gone. And anytime anybody comes up to you and says, the violent crime isn't as bad as they're saying, you can't believe what you're reporting. Okay, anytime anybody says any garbage and nonsense like that, explain to them right away and know yourself in your own heart and your own mind that violence is everywhere. And point them to the story of Charlotte, North Carolina. But most likely somebody that would say that is not going to know about the story. They're not. Because you know why? The people that say that are just following this propaganda, ridiculous, cover-up mainstream news. Let's go to it. Let's see if the people who would say that to you, that they don't believe the crime is everywhere, let's see if they know about the story of young 23-year-old Irina Zarotska murdered on a light rail train for no reason whatsoever. Let's see if they know about it. No, they probably don't. They probably think you're making it up. You know why? Because that person is still following corporate media, which is broken, it is corrupt, it is intentionally keeping stories like this out of the news. Why? Because the murderer was black. That's why. That's why, and it needs to be said. That's exactly why. Well, let me check. Maybe it's different. Let me give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe from Saturday on, when the whole world started to see this video, to Sunday, to this morning on Monday, maybe it's changed. Maybe because the story was so horrific and so many people are aware of it now on social media. So many people understand exactly what happened. Maybe it's covered this morning. Let me check. No, it's not there. AP, 0. PBS, 0 stories. New York Times, no coverage. NPR, no. Wall Street Journal, nothing. BBC didn't cover the story. CNN, of course, no stories. Washington Post, no. Reuters didn't have it. MSNBC, not going to have the story of the deadly attack on the Charlotte light rail train that murdered this girl? Of course not. So the people that are that clueless, that have no idea and still believe what those propagandists in the media, and this is why they're such a target of my ire every single day, because they do this. I know how the sausage is made in the media. That's why I get so mad at them. And until we now, it's less trust than ever in mainstream media, less than ever. And that's a good start. But there's still enough people that believe them and think that they're telling them the truth, that we're not fixing the problem. All right. First of all, President Trump is now aware of the issue, now that this got out everywhere, because, smart people who don't rely on corporate media for their news stories, they're aware of it, and it got to the president. Wasn't aware of the exact story yet, but he knows now because they brought it to his attention. This was at Andrews Air Force Base, Joint Base. I think he was just about to get on Air Force One.
Multiple times on a Charlotte subway. You've seen this video, and do you have any reaction to it?
Yeah, and where was it? The subway was where?
She was in Charlotte on a light train. She was stabbed multiple times by a...
Horrible. No, I haven't heard.
Okay.
When did this happen?
It happened in August, but the video just came out.
I see, yeah. I see the video.
He wasn't completely aware of the story and putting it all together, and this is early on in the weekend, but he knows now. He absolutely knows. He had already seen the video. He didn't make the connection that where that was and what it is. So now it has national attention. Again, ignore those stupid media outlets because they're just absolutely useless. And you also, I'll go this far, ignore the people you know in your life that follow those useless news outlets. Because here's a concept that's actually happening. One of the amazing little nuggets that was discovered when they looked into when the Doge team, Big Balls and the others, under Elon's direction, looked into USAID, the money laundering operation that they were using for this to advance stories worldwide that we were funding with our tax money. One of the things that came out in one of the documents was them talking about a term. They wrote it because they never thought we'd find out. Strategic silence, they called it. Now, what's strategic silence? When they want to push a certain narrative, for whatever reason, I don't know why they want to destroy society. I don't know why they want to destroy the West. I don't know, but they do. When they want to push a certain narrative or get something out of the news like the Charlotte light rail murder of Irina Zarotska, they'll employ strategic silence, and it's all laid out right there. They found it in the USAID documents where they work with their media partners to censor and bury a story. You're seeing that happen in real time right now. It's still happening. But here's what changed. We have the information now. You know, Elon always says, we're the media now. Well, it's true. Would we have known about this story if we didn't have Twitter turning into X, all the other social media outlets that are out there, all the great independent journalists that all have podcasts now, and they all go online and they do their live streams and they let us know exactly what's happening? Wouldn't know about the story. This is why they're losing and the people are winning. Now, speaking of Elon, he's the guy that brought this up as well. He's the guy that actually, because he's got the biggest X account, he owns the company, he's the guy that got this story out there and it picked up and it's everywhere now about the murder of this poor girl. Of the scumbag behind her that randomly stabbed her to death, 14 times released. 14 times. All of them violent crimes, by the way. All of them. Now, who's the judge responsible for this? We should find out because, again, what's my theme today? We need to start holding these judges and these prosecutors accountable for murderers they let on the streets. We have to start. Well, you can't do that. That's such a foreign concept to people. Judges need to rule without fear nor favor. Oh, yeah, I agree with you. Are they doing that now in this kind of case? No, they're not. This scumbag was released onto the streets into a city like Charlotte, North Carolina, only to commit murder for some reason. Who knows if we'll ever figure it out, but they release them for some unknown reason, and they do it under the guise of underprivileged, mental illness, had a problem, help them out, have a heart. No more hearts. Get the killers off the streets, and the judges and prosecutors and elected officials that are responsible for this need to be held accountable. Well, here's the judge. I'm not going to talk about the murderer's name, but the judge's name, well, in January 25, Judge Teresa Stokes allowed him to be released on no cash bail. You know what that means? You just go. You just go. Oh, we'll bring you in later on for a hearing and a trial. Right. Good luck finding him. Last month, his public defender questioned his mental capacity. Oh, you know what that means? You question your mental capacity, that means you get free rein to do whatever the hell you want to do. Judge Roy Wiggins ordered a forensic evaluation while allowing the dirtbag killer to remain free. Isn't that something? Judges and DAs, prosecutors, need to be held accountable. And now this is an idea that has caught on with everybody for the most part. But I'll take it a step further. Because let's talk about the mayor of this fine city. And this is how it happens. And this is how they erase victims time and time and time again. The judge of Charlotte, North Carolina has to release a statement at some point, right? Because so many people are talking about it. Well, here's her statement. We will never arrest our way out of these cases. Issues such as homelessness and mental health. Let me be clear. I'm not villainizing those who struggle with their mental health or those who are unhoused. Isn't that interesting? Well, poor 23-year-old Irina Zarodska has been unlived. She's dead because of your policies, and you need to be held accountable. But now she made a statement only because her election's coming up soon. You know, that's what it is. You want to hear more? Would you like to hear more of the story? She's kind of upset that it got out. She's upset because it got out right ahead of her re-election campaign. Here's another part of the statement. The video of heartbreaking attack that took Irina Zarodska's life, she mentioned her name at least, well, that's good, has been made public. I want to thank our media partners and community members who have chosen not to repost or share this footage out of respect for Irina's family. That's not out of respect for Irina's family. That's out of respect for a re-election campaign where you want to be re-elected. Another useless mayor in another city where not enough of us paid attention. And that's another thing that has to stop. We have to start paying attention to look at your county, look at your city, wherever you are in the country, and look at who your prosecutor is, look at who your mayor is, look at who the city commission is, even as far down as like the local city commissions. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, and I get it. We're all trying to live lives and live business and raise our kids. I get it. But your entire livelihood is at stake because of lunatics like this, and it happens all the time. And none of us would have known about it if this video hadn't been released. It happened earlier, but the security camera's out there. She's dead and now aware of it. And now this crazy concept of holding judges and DAs accountable is out there. It's been released into the wild, and it's going to grow, and it needs to happen. It's crazy right now. It's not going to be soon because the more people, for whatever reason, why they worked so hard to bury this story. And the only reason, by the way, how this wound up on social media is because it's public access. It's public access for the light rail system, taxpayer-funded train to be released into the world. Otherwise, would we have known this story? Nope. If Elon hadn't bought Twitter and turned it into X, would this have been censored? Yep. You know what else happened? Would you like one more? I'll lighten it up soon, I promise. You know what else happened? One more sick little element into this. We talked about the strategic silence of the media to bury stories like this and the mayor not giving a damn about the victim. But she cares about the unhoused. Right. You know what else happened? But finally common sense came to light and people stood up against it. There was a GoFundMe. After this happened, there was a GoFundMe for the scumbag that stabbed Arena in the neck. It just got taken down yesterday, but it made it that far until people found out about it. A GoFundMe to pay his legal fees. We all have our theories. I don't know why people want to tear society apart. They just hate. They just hate the West. Maybe it's something more sinister than that. Maybe there are other countries involved that are trying to tear our country apart, but that's the goal. That's exactly what it is. And by the way, just one more element on this before we start to take some action on it. Irina Zarotska, I try to mention her name as much as possible because people like that mayor of Charlotte are trying to erase her. Irina Zarotska, who was 23, a Ukrainian immigrant to our country. Just as a little social experiment test today. For all the people you know in your life, people you follow, anything you see, this would mostly be on a Facebook thing, I would imagine. People who have Ukrainian flags in their bios and have since the war broke out. Look to see if they're even aware of this story. It'll tell you where they get their information. Those corrupt corporate news outlets, or are they digging up and finding out what the real news is from independent journalists? Look to see. Look to see if they've said anything about Irina Zarotska, a Ukrainian girl. Came to this beautiful young girl, 23, came to this country looking for a better life, probably to escape that war zone. Well, now she's dead. So if the people who have Ukrainian flags in their bios and they were so upset about the war, as you should be, nobody should be in favor of war, look to see if they said anything or are even aware of her story as she got murdered in Charlotte. Look to see if they're aware. And if not, it's pretty fair to ask the question, do you only care about Ukrainians that are killed overseas? Or do you not care about Ukrainians that are killed in our country? On a light rail train, on a commuter train in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's got to change. It has to change. And you got to start and say, no, first of all, the personal safety issue is obvious, Try to sit away from anybody you suspect. And don't feel bad about suspecting somebody you think might be a little bit shady. That's the other thing, too. That's the other thing. They're trying to blame, they try to blame people for, if you don't want to sit next to somebody you think is homeless, you're racist. No, I just have common sense. That's what it is. So don't ever feel bad about that. So the personal safety issue is one of them. And the second thing is, be aware of what's in your community, who the elected officials are. And the third thing, the big issue we all need to tackle, and this is a big thing, and it'll get done eventually. It will, if enough of us rise up. You got to hold these judges and these prosecutors accountable. This is ridiculous. This can't happen anymore. Anyway, God bless her and her family. Poor girl. All right, got to lighten it up. You can't find a heavier story than that poor girl. But we're going to try. And this is a little laughable, but still it's an issue that's happening more and more. And ironically, isn't it funny? The Irina Zarotska story was caught on video camera. Now the world knows about it. So was the Phillies Karen. First of all, I think it's so unfair to call anybody you don't like that you see caught on a video situation or in a store a Karen. I always feel bad for the ladies that are actually named Karen. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, what's your name? Karen. Oh, I'm sorry. It's become like some, derogatory term all of a sudden. Anyway, that's what they're calling her. The story is, the start of the weekend, it was in Philly. It was a Phillies. I think they were playing the Marlins or whatever. We all know what happened by now because this is like worldwide. Foul ball territory. Comes in between Phillies Karen and this dad with his two kids. He runs over, grabs the ball. We'll get into the rule. I think it needs to be stated at this point. We got to start laying out a ground rule and something that's socially understood for what happens in a foul ball and whose is whose, right? But let's get to it first. Here's the coverage from the Phillies broadcast of when it happened that led to the whole issue.
And ball hit the fan. Oh, the Phillies fan came in and he stole it from another Phillies fan. Oh, she can't believe it. Whoa!
Easy.
Oh, yeah. Yup.
All right, now you can see if you're watching the video right then, I'm sure you've seen this because this has been replayed a million times over the weekend. So he runs over, grabs the ball, and you'll hear his side of the story in just a second. Of course, she comes screaming over. Now, the dad's in a tough spot because he's with his kids. He had already given the ball to his son now. I guess it was birthday or something. I don't know, like that. And she comes over screaming at him, and you can see his reaction. He goes, ah! So he was kind of taken off guard in this situation, right? All right, it needs to be stated. You don't ever run over, and we've seen examples of this summer, this baseball season. You don't ever take a ball out of somebody's hand. But he's being criticized because he ran over and it was the general area. Now, look, I've been to, it has to be hundreds of baseball games at this point in my career, in my life. I'm old now. It's like I've been to a lot of games, in all over the country, too. The general rule, as I've understood it, and maybe I'm wrong, and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, is if it's bouncing around, because most foul balls hit like the concrete or a seat and they're bouncing, it's fair game for everybody. No, you don't punch anybody. No, you don't push them out of the way. But he didn't do that. In his side of the story, it was between him and where she generally was. He grabbed it first and gave it to the kid. Here's his side of the story. Now that we've seen Philly Karen, of course, immediately he started doing some interviews and he's talking about this. Now, when you listen to him, he's got a compelling case.
Seats, trying to snag a ball for his birthday week, and as soon as it cracked off the bat, it was starting to head our way a little bit. So I walked to my right, and I thought, oh crap, it's coming. And I walked down a couple seats, and it fell and kind of bobbled between the two armrests. And I picked it up, and as I was pulling away, two other hands came, and I mean, I didn't really care at that point. I just walked away and held the ball up high and put it in Lincoln's glove, and was hoping he'd be on the Megatron TV or whatever, and then she showed up.
Oh, she showed up, all right. Screaming in his face. No, apparently, and this was caught on video after the fact, too. This is what made her really unlikable. As she's going back to her seat, people always jump in. This is the other thing that's crazy, too. Just because there's a kid in the section doesn't mean the kid automatically gets the ball. Not this case, but other cases. So all the Phillies fans, remember it's Philly, start yelling at her and giving her a hard time. She's giving the finger to the other people. She's just unlikable all the way around. But a lot of criticism has come to the dad because he gave her the ball. Now, the Phillies organization did the right thing, and they gave the kid a bat and whatever. They won. They were fine because this was caught on camera. If it wasn't, it wouldn't have been a different story. We wouldn't be talking about it. Okay. But here's the thing you got to remember. Get out of your mind right or wrong in this case, okay? Just think about the dad, or if you happen to be a mom in this situation. Like I said, he is in a tough spot, but he did give the ball up. Here's the thing. You can't give in to a crazy, I'll use the term too, a crazy Karen like this. You can't do it. It's bad. It's a bad look. You can't do it. Give the ball to the kid, have him hold it, and stand in between as she's losing her mind. Because she was already in a crazy, hyped up state. And just as a life tip, if she's already worked up and you refuse to play along, you just sit there silently and don't deal with it, she would have gotten even more worked up. Security eventually would have taken her away, and you would have won. The country would be behind you, and your kid would still have the ball. Now, it worked out for them, but even if you agree with her that it was in her section originally, even though I would disagree with it because the ball is bouncing around, the bottom line is you can't give in to a crazy lady like that or a crazy person. You can't do it. You just, I don't know. You can't. I understand the dad was like, and she freaked him out. I get it. But you can't back off like that. You just can't. Tough call for us to say Monday morning quarterbacking, though, because she was nuts. But anyway. But I think the solution to this, maybe, we're going to have to come up with some ground rules, ironically enough, for foul balls bouncing around. And maybe it should be this. Balls bouncing around anywhere in foul territory in the stands, anybody's game. Short of pushing somebody. Don't do that. But if somebody catches it legally, fairly, it's their ball. Can we agree? Does this keep the peace? No, probably not. But anyway, bottom line is you can't give her the ball. You can't back down like that. All right, whatever. Thanks for finding me in the Wicked Radio live stream. I'm sorry that first story was so brutal, but we have to do something about it. We have to hold judges and prosecutors accountable for murderers. And maybe this is the spark. As horrific as this story, I can't think of a more horrific story or video, that's why I didn't play it, than the murder of Irina Zarotzka on that train. But we got to turn that darkness into something positive, and maybe that's it in the long run. Because pretty soon it's not such a crazy idea to hold these public officials accountable for letting murderers loose on the streets. Maybe that's the takeaway. But be aware. It's only Monday. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate you as always. All you new listeners. Ton of new audio subscribers. I appreciate that so much. Just look for Wicked Radio with Bill Adams. all the audio podcasts. Just press subscribe as well. You'll know when new episodes are coming. And then this lives on as a replay everywhere. On X, at Wicked Bill Adams, on YouTube, on Facebook, all that stuff. Appreciate your time. Look, it's only Monday. Make it a wicked awesome Monday. Don't let these crazy news stories get you down. With all that said, I will talk to you tomorrow.